could the MLS in its youth, which it still is, benefit from a rivaling league attempting to get similar stature?
What do
So
you mean
like
by rivaling league? Are
well,
you talking
just
like League MX?
no. Like the same domestically, like league is trying to reach the same heights as that. So like back in the day, the
Oh,
NBA had the ABA, who were pretty. I mean, ABA was a little smaller, but to the point where they were rivaling the NBA, and the NBA then merged with them, became the
okay.
NBA. MLB has like their two leagues, American League, National League, and then they're both one cohesive league. The NFL has the numerous different
XFL,
copycats. Yeah, XFL and another one on I
CFL.
forget which. Another one too. That's Canadian, but there's another one too on NBC. I think that's rivaling right now. That's still going right now. But things like that, right? There's different leagues that sometimes forces the original league to change methods, to change something, just to compete, so they don't lose out. Could the MLS do that? Let's say there was another league, which I know there is someone's trying to form. But let's say there's another league that has promotion relegation, or anything else that the MLS doesn't have, but we've been dying for. Could that benefit overall U.S. soccer? Would that be a good thing, or is that just a waste of time?
I think it's a waste of time. It would be very confusing because American soccer football is just getting off the ground in the sense it's finally gaining a little bit of popularity and it's getting a foothold, and then creating a brand new league for competition wise would just be like really like contradicting in that sense because I feel like it'd be hard to follow two leagues that are completely different from each other in the sense of like promotion relegation. And then like where would that money be coming from? And you invested already so much money into the MLS,
Well, I
so
think
I feel like
it's a different thing. I mean, for me, it's like it's a whole separate entity. It's not like MLS is going to go create their own league, right? It's like so there's more people who did invest in MLS than did. So like let's say we have another league, right? Um, they get their investors and whatnot, and the league is growing on its own. Like it's its own thing. It's not meant to be similar to MLS anyway, other than they play soccer. Um, and like I said with the other leagues, like that's happened before, and they've merged and had a change. So like I don't I understand the confusion, but I think the confusion is the point. Does that make sense? Because so something almost has to change to not lose out on the confused people. So they would change something and be like, "No, we are the league that you should be watching." Um, that's my point of view there.
I just don't see it. I mean, I don't think it'd make any sense in the sense I think it'd be
Hmm.
like it'd be a step backwards in my opinion from it all. But I feel like Diego, thoughts?
I just think we're not at a point in our league currently that it's going to be. I'm not saying it won't be hopeful. Obviously, competition is always hopeful, but the MLS isn't at a point where I think we can be even satisfied with it too much to begin with.
Well, I
Um,
think that's the point, though. Is that's what I'm trying to make. Like the let me go back to the NBA ABA thing, right? NBA was still relatively in its infancy. They weren't. That was the whole point. Is that there wasn't a league to rival them, so they weren't notably the best league in the country, let alone the world at the time, right?
mhm.
So it was still young, and so to me that's the point with the MLS, that it's young enough to change and maybe merge. I don't know, with something else. So to like say what
Yeah,
Andres was saying, like it's like a step back, take a step back to take a step forward in the end. Like you know what I mean? Like it's young enough where it shouldn't have to just be set in what it is.
yeah, that's true. I see. I mean, like to even get a league though that gets traction and support, you need to have either like some big names backing it,
Yeah.
just some way to build a lot of hype for it. Because otherwise, it's just not gonna do much, and honestly, it'll be just a waste of money.
Hmm.
So I think you need to have some serious support for it to even gain some traction, and at that point, maybe we can talk about like it being a positive influence. But while we're talking about MLS influence, this thing itself needs to build itself up and be its own thing before we even start taking it seriously. And that's
Yeah.
much easier said than done. So
Yeah.
Clearly,
I think like What the hell?
Fucking hell. Hey, yo,
Yeah.
Diego,
Hey,
your
tell,
scroll
tell
built
Joaquin,
different.
tell Joaquin back there to stop whatever he's doing. Relax.
It's like gonna be
No, I'm just kidding.
okay.
So like the whole, this is my point of view, right? So we are, without even like really paying much attention to it, we are kind of saying that. Or I feel like you guys are also kind of saying like this isn't working. Also, an aspect of that is it hasn't worked. Like I mentioned the NFL thing, and Andres would know more about this, but the other two leagues, right? XFL and the whichever one's
I'm
happening right now, I forget the one
not as the
on NBC.
XFL.
No, it's a different one. It's like the UP something whatever.
United, yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Hold on, let me check.
Or maybe the same thing. I don't know, but you know what I mean is that they haven't really gained too much traction. They've gained some here and there for sure, but not too much. Um, and that's fine. But I think if the MLS were to have a separate league that had promotion relegation, and you give it 5 years, 3 years maybe, and you kind of see how they do it, I think a lot of people would be more interested than American football fans who are interested in the NFL, that kind of thing. I think it's a little different, and um, I think having it would be a benefit overall into, as you were saying, Diego, shaping the MLS.
Yeah.
Like letting it grow. I think, like I said, to me, having another league would be the point, is to help shape it into what it should be. Otherwise, it's going to shape it into what it wants to be, not what the people want it to be. Does that make sense? They won't
Yeah.
change without competition, without something um, taken away from their profits, right? So I think the only thing it would be is another league. I mean, they already have to compete with foreign leagues, which everyone likes to watch. So that's fine, but they can deal with that. But if they were to have another domestic league, then they would actually have to sit down and be like, okay, we see that you guys are watching this other league too. Let's just either merge with them, or let's just see what they're doing so that we can improve ours, so you can maybe watch us more.
I
And then
mean,
the MLS would become the primary again.
also it's called the USFL. You're close.
USFL.
Yeah. But also technically the USL isn't like connected to the MLS in that sense. Like, yes, it's on the same federation, but it's technically two different branches. The only thing that brings them together are the US Open Cup, which they play each other.
Yeah. Well, but
So
they don't offer anything different to like that's what I'm saying. Like if we had another league, promotion relegation, back to this. Pro Rel would be the thing that differs it. So if we had a league with that, then it's like, okay, that's different. USO is just MLS, but not as big.
I mean, you could, like, to use our example of creating a different league, we could then just make that USL league into its own separate league, because there's so many teams, you could make two divisions out of it and have a promotion relegation battle. Yes, I know there's the USL 1 and 2, whatever the fuck they're called. No offense to anyone who plays in that. But it's like you could do that, because you have enough teams to build out of instead of bringing something brand new if you get the right investors, because they already have decent money in the sense that they have coverage of ESPN Plus, which is somehow the USL has better coverage than the MLS, which doesn't make any sense to me. But
MLS trying to do its own thing with the Apple stuff. But
but like,
I know what
shit
you mean.
coverage. But like like, because ESPN Plus is technically still a part of, like, no, sorry, never mind. I was about to mix two different brands together. It would have been caught myself out. Stop myself. But like, like the USL, like if they could like separate it, would be cool.
Okay.
But like I think it's probably never gonna happen, having a different league, but it's a fun conversation to have in general.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like grabbing the USL and making its own separate thing away from the MLS and not having it connected would be cool. And then like doing like a little like miniature like final of like, oh, the winner of the USL faces the winner of the MLS. That'd be kind of cool.
Okay. I like that. I like that too. I think you do bring an interesting point with the USL, and which I definitely haven't thought of, or definitely wouldn't have thought about. Is that like, let's say, yeah, you're right. Maybe not a new league, but we just improve upon the USL. We just someone or a company or a group comes in. It's just like, we're gonna put millions, if not billions, into this and make it a new thing. Then that could very easily rival, because there's plenty of USL fans. Like they have their teams in such different cities than the MLS does. Smaller cities, but doesn't mean
the
cities are not
outreach is massive. I mean, if you build that up, like, it's just only going to expand into the communities. I mean, there's the Monterey, like California's like, ooh, I don't want to disrespect anyone, get called out in the comments by anyone. I'm gonna say they have like 4 or 5 USL teams. No, 6. I'm gonna say 6. A solid 6. Sacramento Republic, Oakland Roots, Monterey Bay,
San Diego.
San Diego, Ontario, not Ontario, Orange County, and LA Galaxy. 6.
Right.
I was right.
2. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you can only
Mm-hmm.
outreach into those groups because like Monterey is a brand new team, but now they're playing LAFC, in the U.S. Open Cup.
Right.
So it's like if you like put money into all those teams like in California, Oakland's like its own team, it's by itself, so it could go into San Francisco, yada yada yada. But yeah, I feel like if they invested it would be a smart decision. But it'd
Yeah.
be
I
cool
mean,
to
but
see.
this is all a decade or 2, 3 decades kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
this would be a long term thing, but one that I would be a big fan of. I doubt it'll never happen, but
Yeah.
I personally would be a big fan of, and it kind of would make it interesting. Because I think like the counter was on. I don't know how real this is or legit, but it's like 80. It was a poll taken amongst U.S. soccer fans, and 88% said they would want promotion relegation. Right, that's a big part of the national soccer fan scene. MLS isn't going to change without a need to change, and if a different league would require them to change, that's it.
Yeah.
That's less views,
Put the
less
pressure
money.
on.
Exactly. Something to put the pressure on them.